We're going to record.
There you go.
There we go. We have with us this morning James Meyer with SunPro Solar. And James, this is interesting. I met James's wife in a nail salon probably a year and a half ago or more. I haven't been to a nail salon in a year, just about now. But
you and I both.
I did meet his wife there. It was really interesting. We just struck it off. And then I got to know James through his wife. It's interesting how you find people. But James spoke to us about a year ago or more now, I guess, in the office when we had a classroom session. But I wanted to come back and I wanted to address, because we do have listings out there more and more now that have solar panels on them. And we have had some agents run into problems because they didn't know what kind of questions to ask or what to do if a house has solar panels. So I asked James to come and talk to us about solar panels. So James, I'm going to turn it over to you. Thank you.
Liz, thank you. Good morning, everybody. I recognize some familiar faces, and I appreciate the opportunity to come back and speak to you all about this, because it is, in your world, it's growing. There's a lot of uncertainty. There's a lot of lack of information or inaccurate information. And I want to give you the tools, the nuts and bolts to be able to not get that cold sweat when you pull up in front of a house and see solar panels on the roof, because it is a fairly simple item to navigate with the right tools. And that's what I want to give to you today. The other thing is that I will email the final presentation to Liz so she can have it on file in the office. And again, at the end of the presentation, I've taken the liberty to put my name, my phone number, and left it open for any and all of you to reach out to me at any time for any reason if you have any question, because I want you to be able to feel comfortable. And the other thing is, solar's growing exponentially in South Carolina, and we'll go through that today. The other thing is, during the slide presentation, if it's all right with everybody, feel free to interrupt me, because I want to answer your questions at that point, because if I make you wait at the end and you haven't written them down, I know I forget. So please feel free to interrupt and ask anything you want. Are there any questions before I start? Well, I'll switch over the screen. Let's get there. There we go. Bear with me.
James, while we're waiting, I have a question for you. Have you
Sure.
seen an increase in installation of solar panels on more so on older homes, or those that are newer homes that are being built for new construction?
Everything.
Okay.
Here we go. There we go. Everybody have that?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, great. I've seen an increase in people who've lived in a house for 2 months saying, please come. I want to put solar panels on. So it's new, it's old. And it's even growing in the Mount Pleasant, Charleston area and the more affluent areas, because some of the older homes, you're looking at $400 and $500 electric bills a month, especially during the summer. So people are trying to save money. So I'm with SunPower, and we are the oldest solar company in the United States. And South Carolina marketplace 3 years ago was 36th in solar in America. In the last 3 years, we've now come to the top 10, and we continue to grow. 3 years ago was the failed nuclear plants that had been mothballed, and everybody took a bath, and Westinghouse went out of business. And we're still paying off $3.5 billion worth of debt that was charged to the rate holders. You've got fires in California that are raging. You've got hurricanes that are raging, and people are looking at, and you've got a pandemic, and people are spending more time at home. It's funny, I have a friend in the pool business. He said, if you want a pool, you missed your opportunity because it's now 2021, early 2022 before you can get a pool company to come make a pool for you. So as you have people moving from the north, and especially from the west, energy is gonna be, and energy savings and efficiencies in homes going to become increasingly important. If you haven't seen it already, it's going to happen. So in South Carolina, the solar houses will double by 2024. You've got 3 power makers, companies that generate power. Dominion, which bought SC&G, Duke in the upstate, which operates in 11 states, and you've got Santee Cooper. And Santee Cooper is an interesting case because they're still owned by the state of South Carolina. McMaster's wants out of the electric business, and the legislature wants to maintain the electric business. Santee Cooper services 3 markets. They have residential customers, they have co-op customers, and they also have a wholesale business that they sell power. If Santee Cooper is sold, it will undermine the co-op pricing that's established throughout South Carolina in 26 different co-ops. They were being bought, and the due diligence in the legislature was going on in January, February, and then was shut down in March. So as soon as the legislature reconvenes, I'm sure they're going to pick up on that. And it's going to cause a problem for energy rates for people in farm country and out in the rural areas. The second whammy is that the Energy Freedom Act expires, and that's the act that has frozen electric rates in South Carolina since the SC&G merger 3 years ago. That expires in 2021. So electricity rates are going to go up. Now, as far as the program is concerned, Duke, Dominion, and Santee Cooper, they give you dollar for dollar. You use one, you send them one, they credit you the same amount. Net metering, depending on where you signed up for solar, you've got otherwise 2025 or a deadline of 2029, and then that expires. The other thing is, regardless of power company you have, your credits that you create, your energy credits from the sun, specifically in the spring, is where you're going to overproduce. Every year they reset. The power makers pay you for them. The co-ops just take them. The difference between the two, the co-ops, they buy their power and they resell it to you. You never pay the same monthly rate with a co-op. When they credit you on your solar, it's a fraction of what the power and energy producers will give you, 30 to 40%. And then the co-ops all reset in May. Any questions? Okay. There's the Energy Freedom Act. That expires next year, which is right around the corner. What happens? Dominion rates will rise quickly. They haven't had a rate increase in 3 years. When Dominion finally did the due diligence after they bought SC&G, they found that SC&G had not been performing regular upgrades on the grid. If you're ever driving up 17 to Georgetown or to Myrtle Beach recently, you see them on the side of the road burying orange pipe. They're trying to put all the lines underground to save themselves some money, but it's costing them money. They've already put in for a 7.75 increase, and the CEO of Dominion in Virginia has already come out and said, we're not making any money in South Carolina. So those are all indications of what's going on with the electric rates. Solar is an alternative. Wind energy is not as popular because it's bigger, it's uglier, and it kills birds. The program in South Carolina is advantageous because we have federal and state tax credits. We're one of 3 states. This is a good thing and a bad thing. The good thing is it puts more money into the homeowner's pocket, okay? So you'll get 25% of the cost of the system back in your pockets when you go solar. The federal tax credit steps down to 22% from 26% and then disappears. But you get every dollar that the tax credits are promised you from the cost of the system. And we'll get into that more later. Okay? The program is no money down, no money out of your pocket, no installation fees. So you ask yourself, why aren't more people going solar? It's a very good question. This is something that you guys are all very concerned about, evaluating what the value and solar panels do to the property. California is the only state so far that has mandated that as of 2020, all new homes in California must have solar. They're not sure what the effect is on the homeowners recouping that money down the road. There are rumors, and again, just rumors coming out of Columbia, that South Carolina is looking at that plan also, because we've never been able to catch up on all the electricity that is needed to run South Carolina. Okay, top 10 solar states based on median priced homes. New Jersey is number 1, Pennsylvania, North Carolina. So you can see it's in that 4%, with the exception of New Jersey, it's in that 4%. Okay? So there are 3 different ways to evaluate this, and this is the first one, and I'll show you all 3. Oops, sorry. Okay. The appraisal journal. A home's value increases about $20 for every dollar saved in energy costs. $200 a month savings, 12 months times 20 years, $48,000. Berkeley National Labs formula, $5,000 per kilowatt of solar energy installed. The same value, you need a 9.6 kilowatt system. Okay, questions?
Do you see that differential in value
Okay.
on the appraisals? Are you seeing appraisals actually adjust for solar panels?
Yes. Yes. I've had a neighbor in my neighborhood who I've installed 2 years ago. He's refied his house. His appraiser said to him face to face, your house is going to appraise more because you have solar panels on it. Now, he's been up north with his sick daughter. I haven't been able to find out what kind of percentage increase from him that he got, but the appraiser did tell him that.
How is that calculated?
That I don't know. That's what I'd like to find out. That's what, because quite honestly, it doesn't do me any good to make that statement without knowing how it's calculated. And I'm waiting on him to get back so I can ask him.
All right, so I guess I'm a little confused because I just saw a value of your home goes up 48,000.
Right.
But then I just saw the screen before where South Carolina, the increase, there's only 3.5%. We're number 10 in the nation for solar panel use, and that only saves consumers $5,800. Is that per year?
That is. Let me go back. Well, the point of the conversation was that there are three different ways and three different what do you want to call them? I guess appraisals, three different ways to appraise your house for solar. And one is the one that I showed you with the median home. Then there's the appraisal journal. And then there's the lab. And that's in the selling price of the house. That's the appraisal price of the house.
Do you make any distinction between owning those panels and leasing?
Yes.
Good point.
Leasing basically gives you no additional value in the home. You don't own the panels and you don't get the tax credits. And in 20 years, they come and take the panels off your house. And that's that. So leasing is the least, is really no additional appraisal at all.
When you showed us that South Carolina solar program, that was the no money down and all that.
Yes, sir.
It feels like the old cell phone and home security models, where they built in the hardware costs into your monthly. And I've gone in both of those categories now to companies where I pay for the hardware and I have a much lower monthly cost. So do I still have that option? I looked at this a year and a half ago with three different companies, and I wanted to just buy the panels, take the credits, and get the middleman out of it. The net metering is what ultimately persuaded me it was not a good investment without net metering guaranteed long term.
Right. Well, the reason you include the middleman, like a SunPower or a solar company, we're going to give you warranties. We're going to give you 25-year warranties on anything that goes up on your roof. We're going to warranty your roof for 25 years for no leak. We're going to do all the paperwork and all the permitting. We're going to do all the engineering drawings, and we do all of those things. I've had people say that I'm going to do it myself, and I've checked back with them a year and a half later, and they haven't even started. There is really no opportunity. Well, I shouldn't say that. If you choose to do it that way, you risk not having any warranties to protect you. And, you've got no one except yourself that's going to maintain that system. All right. Does that help? I mean, does that help?
I think, no, my question would be to pay you to do the installation.
Yeah.
Right. But I want to pay for the panels, pay for the installation. And just like I do that on a HVAC unit, there's still a warranty that goes with that. Right.
Okay. Right. You can also go ahead. I'm sorry.
Or a gas powered backup generator. I'm thinking of all the different models around a home that are like that. That's another interesting added value question. If you have a gas powered, natural gas powered generator backup on the value. So anyway, is that an option? Is that an option to say, yes, I want to pay you to put it in to do the engineering and all that on the ground, by the way, not on the roof.
Okay.
And then say, now let me deal with the electric company and the tax benefits directly.
Well, you do deal with that is part of the deal. And that is, the financing makes it clear. We make it clear to the homeowners that The tax credits are strictly on your responsibility to get. We also turn around and encourage you to sit and talk to your tax advisor before you sign anything to confirm that you qualify for those tax credits. Okay? Because there are some people who say, yes, I pay taxes. Well, you don't, you've got to make sure you pay enough taxes, because what happens is the lenders now will give you 18 months after the system is turned on to go get your federal tax credit. This year, the tax credit is 26%. So they'll give you 18 months, and all they're asking is, with no money down, no money out of your pocket, but they are asking that in the 18th month, you put down a minimum of 26% for your federal tax credit. That will lock you in to a fixed loan every month, and the payment every month. We tell you what that payment is in advance. And sometimes it's right on where you are. Sometimes it's a couple dollars more. It varies. You've got enough financing that you can either pay less, pay more, or pay the same. So the tax credits do fall on your responsibility. Does that help?
Yes. Thank you.
What was the second half of your question? Because I think it had to do with warranties.
Right.
Well, you get those warranties. The installer gives you those warranties. The panel makers give you those warranties. Okay, those are all warranties. Not everybody gives you the same warranty. I give out five to six warranties to my homeowners. Other companies only give out 4. And the additional warranties that I give out are labor. Panel burns out, microinverter doesn't work, system doesn't work. I've got to come out and fix it. It costs you nothing. You're covered for 25 years. I put a guy on a plane, he comes out, he fixes it. The other thing that we give you that the other companies, there's one other company out there that does give it to you, and that's a system guarantee on what the system will produce. We put that in writing. We'll give you a number, 15,000 kilowatt hours. If we don't hit that 15,000 kilowatt hours, we come out and fix the system and pay you the difference. So that's, you basically are completely covered on your house. Your family's covered, your house and family, everybody's protected for 25 years. Now, the majority of panels in top tier panels will last you 40 years. I will tell you that microinverters will last you 12 years. So we'll come back out and we'll have to replace those inverters. We know that going into it. So those are why you have those warranties. And if you pay cash, you still get the warranties. It doesn't matter. But I give you, for an example, I give you a 25-year warranty on no leak roofs. Most other solar companies give you 10 years. So there's a difference between solar businesses. And just like your phone example, there are differences with different phones. Does that help?
Yes, thank you.
Okay. No, that's fine. I just want to make sure I'd answered it.
I'm assuming those warranties are transferable since, the solar panels stay with the home?
The loan, yes, the loan, the loan may not, depending on the lender, but we will transfer the loan, we will transfer the warranties one time. So if you sell your home, we will honor the warranties with the next homeowner.
But as you said, not every company does that.
And you've got to make sure. These are questions you've got to ask. Lenders don't not all lenders transfer loans. Our lenders do. There are some lenders out there, and there have been some situations where I've talked to people who've reached out to me, and their lender says, no, you have to pay off the loan before you sell the house. And they were not aware of that when they bought into their solar panels. So there are three things you can do. You can put it into the price of the house. You can pay it off from the proceeds of the house, and or you get the homeowner to that really two things. I mean, you're really kind of stuck, and that's the important thing of why we're having these conversations today. So because there's a hit list, and I'll give it to you at the end on this presentation of what you need to know and what you should ask. And if you get the answers to those questions, you're in pretty good shape, and you'll have a very clear understanding of what the situation is when selling the house. Does that help?
That's good.
Yes.
Okay. So, first questions, who's your solar company? This is the dark side of having a state tax credit. The world in the solar companies and the world of solar companies knows that South Carolina has a state tax credit. We're the only ones in the Southeast that has one. So every solar company from North Carolina, Georgia, you pick it, Florida, has sent and is sending people as far as Salt Lake City to come to South Carolina and sell solar. They come in, they do a bunch of jobs, and they leave town. So you should know, or at least find out, who's this, how long have they been in business? Who's your installer? Is the company putting the panels on your roof, or do they have subcontractors? This is all pretty self-explanatory. Then you get down to the bottom. Who handles the warranty work? Because there are warranties where you've got homeowners standing in the post office with a box that's 3.5 feet by 5 feet with a solar panel in it, shipping it back to a company in California. It's all in that fine print. Tax credits goes back to what we were talking about earlier. Homeowners get all the tax credits regardless. It's up to them. 10 years to collect South Carolina, 5 years to collect the federal tax credit. You keep applying when you do your taxes to get that money back. It can come back to you in the form of a check, or it can come as a credit. All of a sudden you owe the state of South Carolina $4,000 and you've gone solar. Well, that $3,500 that they cap you on, you can credit that against the $4,000 you owe the state $500. But again, discuss this with your tax advisor. They're the ones that will tell you. Okay, this is where the rubber hits the road. There are 3 top-tier panels. There are 3 top-tier solar companies. One is SunPower, one is LG, one is Panasonic, which is also Panasonic Sanyo. Top-tier panels have 25-year performance, 25-year product warranties. All right? All other panels have 25-year degradation. Your performance warranty is your panels start out producing at 98%, 99% year one. After 25 years, the top 3 panels all finish out above 90%. So after 25 years of being on your roof or in your yard, they're still producing at 90%, which is exceptional. You've also got a 25-year warranty. If the panel burns out, or if there's a problem with the panel for 25 years, those 3 companies will, no questions asked, come in and give you a new panel. The other solar companies don't necessarily do that. You've got other panels out there, the degradation will finish up in the low 80s. And you've got a 10-year product warranty on the panels. Again, this is something that homeowners, some of them get it, Some of them overlook it. Some of them have no clue. Microinverters, same thing. These are the two key ingredients in solar. The sun is a DC current. The microinverter goes in the back of the panel, converts it on the roof to AC power. The conduit, if you're leasing, goes across the roof and down to your panel. If you buy it, it goes into your attic. So aesthetics is important when you install solar. Enphase is state-of-the-art microinverter. String inverters with optimizers are cheap, old technology, and not reliable. They're like Christmas lights. Roofs, south-facing roof with no shade is the best for solar. Fire codes, statewide, 3 feet, ridge, hip, valley. I've got a drawing in the end of the presentation to give you an understanding of what that means. You've got to have 3 feet. So God forbid there's a fire, the firemen can get up there and put out the fire. In the old days, when they didn't have fire codes, the firemen would stand there and bet on the over-under on how long it would take the house to burn down. Because you have water, you have fire, and you have electricity all in a close proximity. I wouldn't be getting on the roof either. So the other thing is your racking system should be guaranteed and warranted to 130 miles an hour, which is a category 4. Top tier companies, 25-year leak, no roof. The next picture is there are some prominent solar companies. You can see how short some of them have been in business. SunPower is the longest. We've been around since 1985. We've lived through warranties. We've actually been the only company to be around longer than our warranties. Those are things to think about. Again, warranties in writing, comprehensive. Cells and technology. This is window dressing for y'all. But again, there is a lot of technology that goes with it. Here's your cheat sheet. Your largest variable bill is your energy bill. When you go solar, it goes from variable to fixed. When the homeowner has all the paperwork, because at the end of the install, once the system has been turned on, the solar company, regardless, puts together all the warranties, all the bills of sale, all the drawings, and they send them back to the homeowner. So when the homeowner goes, well, I don't know if I have that stuff, it's all, if they kept it all together, it's all in that packet. Everybody does that for sake of easiness.
James.
Yes.
So you said it goes from variable to fixed if you have solar.
Yes.
Does that depend on the solar company that you have that put the?
No, that's the loan product, because you don't know what or you don't know what Dominion, what your bill is going to be from Dominion. But when you go solar and you pay down that 26%, it locks you into a payment for the length of the loan. So regardless of whether it's July or January, you're paying $150 every month or whatever it comes out to be. And we'll tell you in the proposal what it's going to be. So you go ahead.
Excuse me, if the system's paid off and there's no monthly payments on it, your electric bill can vary.
Your electric bill, depending on how much offset you could be paying, like with Dominion, if you paid off your panels, you own your power. And all you're paying is a connection fee, which is $10.
Well, we have a property that we bought. It had solar panels on it. We didn't necessarily want it, but they were there.
Right.
We had the previous owner pay off the bill.
Okay.
So we own them. But the electric bill for that house varies. It's not the same thing every month. And some months it's like $160. Some months it's $14.
Right. Who's the power company?
I don't know. Who we use in Mount Pleasant? Boyd pays the
well, Well, you have a variety of, you have Berkeley, you have Dominion that really are dominant in Mount Pleasant.
It's Dominion.
Yeah.
It's Dominion.
Well, then they didn't put enough panels on that house to cover the utility bill. So in that situation, yes, you will have a bill. I mean, if you'd like me to look into it further, I'd be more than happy to help you with that. But that's
The only reason I bring it up is because I think this is something our agents, when they're selling houses, one of the things they need to ask, I would think.
well, no, absolutely, and that I've actually got that coming up. But yes, because solar panels on a Dominion house, you basically want to sell them 95% of their electric bill if you've got the space on the roof, because they give you A, net metering, and B, when you're done and paid off your panels, you basically own your power. Now, the difference is if you go with Berkeley is a co-op, and they'll charge you 13 cents like Dominion per kilowatt hour. Dominion will credit you 13 cents. Berkeley will credit you 6 cents. So you're getting 40% of anything you send them, you're getting 40% credit. So it doesn't make sense to put panels on your roof that you're paying for that's going to send power back to Berkeley where you're not getting 100% credit. So it is possible in a Berkeley situation where they are only getting between 75 and 80% of their power off their panels, because you don't want, as a salesperson, I don't want to sell the customer more panels that they're not going to make any money off of. Does that make sense? I know it's a lot.
Well, I guess these houses that they sell too, they need to find out, I guess, if they have enough panels on the house. Maybe they just put a few panels and didn't put enough.
Well, see, that's that. I mean, and that's just it. I mean, that's also part of the equation. You know, who is your electric company? Because the co-ops all pretty much work in the same venue. If you're a Berkeley customer, I'm going to sell you 80% because you're going to put panels on your roof that you're not getting full credit for. But I've got a guy in Somerville who just signed. He's with Berkeley. He just put a pool in. He's lived in the house 2 years. And he says, look, and I explained it to him. And he said, no, I understand what you're telling me, but I want 95% of my electricity. So I sold him the panels he needs. But you've gotta know who your electric company is, so you can determine, to your point, if you have enough panels on the roof.
So James, I have a question.
Sure.
So if I'm representing a buyer and this house has solar panels and we're under a due diligence, so we're doing all of our inspections and everything else, does your company, could we ask you to come out and do an inspection? And if so, do you charge for that, and how much?
I do have a crew that lives down here in Somerville that does they do a lot of cleanup work for Sunrun, because Sunrun is just a disaster on installs. We can always come out and do an inspection. Yes, they will charge you for it, but I will tell you that the homeowner, or even anybody, all these solar systems, regardless of who puts them in, they should be Wi-Fi friendly. So the homeowner should know by looking at their phone or their app on their computer what's going on the roof. But yeah, we can help you with that. There are people out there. The best thing is to go with a solar person. Don't go into the open market, because you'll get prices that are ridiculous. So,
Well,
but yeah.
I guess, James, what I'm asking is from a buyer's perspective, let's just, you go into it assuming everything's in place, everything's
Yeah.
good. We just need verification of that.
Right.
And the buyer would like for someone to come out and view the system, current system that's in place, and
Right.
give a complete breakdown of
Okay.
hardware, technology, hookup,
Right.
and then project the energy efficiency. Let's just say the seller has lost all that paperwork that you were referring to. And that happens a good bit when sellers go to list 10 years down the road. And
Yeah.
we're
amazing.
stuck with trying to put together all this information as
Yeah.
a listing representative or as a
Right.
buyer representative. And could we rely or could we hire your services to come out and give us that kind of information and be able to back that up, I guess?
Yeah, yes, you could. I've got two guys that I know would do that. The only issue is that, and not to be a smartass, but fortunately or unfortunately, you've got the panels that are all solid black, or you've got the black and white panels. And the problem is if you don't know what the panel is, it's going to be hard to be able to give you a number. And we'll have to go back through the electricity records and back through it that way, which takes a little bit longer. But there is a way to do it. And yes, you can. You can call us and we'll come out.
Thank you.
I feel if that's a $200 or $500 or $1,000.
It's not that much. I would say it's probably a couple of $100 max. But I've got two technical guys who are in the business and I've worked with before who do this kind of work, and they can work through it and give you an accurate assessment of where you are and what's going on. But I scratch my head because the story of homeowners losing the paperwork is so prevalent, and I don't understand that. You're going to spend $50,000 on your roof and you don't keep the paperwork or you can't find it. But I guess that's another day.
So it could be stored on the cloud, sent to them electronically so that
that's a great point. That's another way to look at it. That it's got to be somewhere in the cloud, and the solar company's got to have some sort of record on it too. So, but the other downside of that is, solar reps come and go, like bartenders, and it's, but yeah, if they can at least remember who the solar company is, then you've got a starting point. What else? Okay. Here we go. Loans. As we discussed, transfer. How long is the loan? Interest rate, monthly loan payment. Is there any prepayment penalty? Is there any utility left over? What's the balance on the account? These are all information, to your point, as you're doing your due diligence. You're already out in front of this, so you know these questions, which is good. Roof warranty. This is the other unknown. How old is the roof? How long has the system been up there? Has anybody checked the roof or the attic for leaks? And then the other thing that has started to play a factor is spray foam. And I don't know if many of you run into this, but it's an insulation that is sprayed on the deck, between the rafters of the roof. And it takes your temperature in the attic down from 140 during the summer to about 100 degrees, which makes the second floor or third floor of your home much more bearable. And it also improves the quality of your air conditioning because most of your air handlers are in the attic. So you're blowing cold air through hot vents down to a warm house. So that air all of a sudden isn't as cold as you thought it should be. So that's spray foam. And the thing is that, as I say, to look for any sort of discolored spots on the foam will tell you there's a leak in the roof. And that's, you just cut away and fix that. But I bring that up because there is a lot more spray foam going into attics in South Carolina. The other thing regarding this spray foam is it is a chemical that is mixed at the location on a truck, and there is also antimicrobial blends to keep mold and things out of the attic, because you get a conversation going with people. There's mold on spray foam, and it's really about how you mix it. But again, that's another conversation. Okay, panels, inverters, we pretty much covered this. Tree limb or hail damage or hurricane damage, that's homeowners insurance. The panel or the inverter doesn't work. Again, everything is Wi-Fi, so you can run reports daily, weekly, monthly on your solar system and look at the panels and what they're producing. And if one is not, then you got an issue, and that's when you call us. For those of you who don't know, here are the hips, the ridge, the valleys, all the terms of the roof. Okay, SunPower builds what is called an equinox system. What that is we make every component in-house for your system. So your inverters, your panels, your reporting system, everything is engineered for your roof. Unlike other solar companies where you end up, as you see here, conventional, you've got 5 different components that have been bought from other companies, and you've got 5 different phone calls. Again, just something to make you aware of, because the solar brand makes a difference. Technology, higher wattage panels, less panels, same house. You can see what 10K systems look like. Do you save money when you go solar? Over 20 years, solar will, on an average, cost you 30 to 35% of what you're going to pay in electricity. The national average is about 5%. In South Carolina, it's 5%, but it's going to go higher. Tax credits we touched on. You've also got the ability to get tax credits on a new roof and include that in the loan and get 47% back from the government. So your roof that you put on for $10,000 now costs you $6,300 after you get the check back from the government. So they're really doing and bending over backwards to get people to go solar because, again, green energy is growing in this country, and it's growing huge out west, and the east is lagging behind. As I said, back to Liz says, in most cases, when you own your panels, you own your powers, and then you can start talking about batteries. Batteries right now are stupidly expensive. You might remember when the flat screen TVs were $6,000 when they first came out, and now you can go to Costco and pay $275 for the same size. The same thing's going to happen with batteries. The sophistication of batteries and the advantage of a battery is this. When the grid goes down in South Carolina, the power goes out after a storm or for whatever reason, your solar panels shut off automatically by law. Because after a storm, the next morning, the sun's going to come out and those panels don't know, and they start producing power and sending it back to the power company, where you could fry a lineman 3 miles down the road and not know it. The advantage of a battery is that the batteries out there now, the Teslas, the SunPowers, even the Generac's, have a program that will shut the grid off. So the system goes down and the battery manages the house. What that means is no power goes back to the grid. Your house becomes what I call a closed circuit. You go back outside, you turn on your solar panels, they'll produce and power your house during the day, charge your batteries so you can run your refrigerator and everything at night. The one thing you need to know about the other thing you need to know about batteries is this: one battery will not power your air conditioning. You're going to need multiple batteries because it's got a power surge that will drain the battery. It's the nature of the business. It's a 60 amp surge. These batteries are not capable of sustaining air conditioning. Routers, hair dryers, refrigerators, all those kinds of things, yes. But air conditioning, no. And again, that's something that is, the batteries would be sized for each project. Okay? Any questions on that? All right. HOAs, don't we love them? Friends of the people. I've got a situation right now with a customer up in Spartanburg. The HOA decided a year and a half ago that they were going to assess everybody in the neighborhood, in the gated neighborhood, for a $300,000 upgrade on the gate. My homeowners were the spearhead of a fight with the HOA. Obviously, they become marked people, and there were other people who joined them. The gate was voted down. They're now marked people with the HOA. I've got to submit paperwork and go through that process and get that done. Fortunately, they called this out to me in advance. I'm going to end up sending certified letters to make sure I have documentation. You might, and it's an extreme, but you might want to have this conversation with your homeowners if there's an HOA issue. The other HOA things are under South Carolina law. The HOA and the ARB board have 30 days to rule and respond on your application request. Technically, if they don't respond, you are free to act. I would go out of my way and give them more than 30 days if they don't, because I have and know of situations where HOAs, the website was down, this was wrong, the board changed, all that kind of stuff. They sued homeowners to take the panels off the house. It does happen. So, not that it impinges on your world in a direct way, but these things are going on out there.
James, we had a situation up in Sumter where a couple put solar panels on the house and without approval from the HOA. And when they got ready to sell the house, the HOA said, you never had approval. They wouldn't approve it. They had to take the solar panels off. So you were saying the law states that they cannot do that.
Well, I'm saying that if you submit your paperwork to the HOA.
Okay.
If you don't submit your paperwork to the HOA, because oddly enough, the guy down the street from my customers up in Spartanburg didn't go through the HOA. He's waiting to find out if they're going to sue him to have him take his panels down. If you don't go through the HOA, that can be done.
That's a big question for our agents to ask. Did you get
Yes.
approval? Yes.
Yes. Well, and my next point is, theoretically, quality solar companies will not proceed to installation without a written HOA or ARB letter of approval. We just won't do it. And that is also the second loophole in a solar contract. Every solar contract, you've got anywhere between 3 and 7 working days to cancel unconditionally. The other one by law is if an HOA comes back to you as a homeowner and says, we're not allowing solar panels, That is the other way, which is usually 3 months down the road after you've signed the contract. That is the other way to get out of a solar contract, because there's nothing that can be done. Now, the last point, under South Carolina law, once the panels have been put up on the front of a house, precedent has been set, and technically the HOA cannot deny you or your application to put panels on the front of your house. This is the HOA thing is a completely slippery slope. And Liz, to your point, it usually ends up in the lawyer's hands. And who's willing to go through that? And the first one that blinks loses. Do I want to spend the money as a homeowner and fight with the HOA in court? That's really how this all ends up, unfortunately. But yeah, you need to make sure, that all the HOA guidelines have been fulfilled, unfortunately. So,
James, are there any numbers around a roof actually lasting longer because of the solar panels protecting the most vulnerable side of the roof?
it's nothing that I've seen in writing. There is the conversation, because the solar panels absorb the heat and the sun, so it's less wear and tear on the roof where the panels exist. The other thing is, quite honestly, and again, there's no written information. There's a lot of, well, I'm gonna give you a 30-year shingle. I'm gonna give you a 50-year roof. The fact of the matter is, in South Carolina, if you get 20 years out of a roof, you're a very lucky person, because the heat, the humidity, and the moisture. The panels, they don't last. But unfortunately, I haven't seen anything in writing on either one of those points. We do recommend that if it's over 10 years and you're going to put solar panels on, we really have to inspect it to make sure, because right now it runs about $175 a panel to take them off and $175 to put them back on when you have to do a roof. So we're conscious of that. And because the tax credits, you can do a roof and get either 51 or 47% back in tax credits. It pays you to do the roof in advance of doing the solar panels at this point. That help?
Yes.
Okay. That's pretty much everything from me. The last slide is my information, which again, I'm going to email the presentation to Liz, but it has my phone number, my email address. Look, I'm not going to charge you anything, because it's beneficial for me selfishly to educate y'all, because if I had $1 for every time, and I don't mean this in a derogatory way, if I had $1 for every time a homeowner said, my real estate agent said it wasn't worth it, I wouldn't be selling solar panels. So with the increase of solar coming, and because there are bad solar guys out there, my mission is to help everybody in the process understand the process better. And I appreciate your time. And I certainly, there is no bad time to call me. And I will be attentive, because it helps you, it helps me. And the more we can educate South Carolinians, new and old, to solar, it's gonna do a world of good for the environment and everybody. So again, that's why I came back for the second year. I reached out to Liz to see how it was going, and I'm here to help each and every one of you any way I can.
James, thank you so much. This has been very educational. Thank you very much.
I hope so, because I am a bit of a gas bag and long-winded, but I want to make sure everybody had their questions answered. And you know what? There are situations where I don't have the answer, but I'll get it for you. And I know enough people in this goofy business that if you've got a special request or a special need, we can take care of that for you. We can track that person down who has that information and can do that for you.
Thank you very much. And anybody have another question before we leave?
I just had a real quick question.
Sure.
How susceptible are the panels to hail damage?
You know what? They're really, LG fires baseballs at them at about 90 miles an hour. There really isn't, they're not really susceptible to it. There are rare occasions when they are, but most of the top tier panel guys, including ourselves, we all test for that, and we build the system for that. So it's not so much the hail as it is, wind and tree limbs.
Gotcha.
It's very rare, but occasionally a tree limb will get through a panel. But as far as hail is concerned, not that big a deal, usually.
So James, on that same thought, are you aware, Miss Liz, you may know this answer, if a buyer would need to increase or add a rider to their homeowner's insurance policy if you have solar panels?
Well, typically
for
what
that
happens,
additional coverage?
yeah, no, typically what happens is this. With the exception of Berkeley, every electric co-op and electric company will request a copy of the declaration page of the homeowner going solar. You'll have to call your agent, and it's really a 50-50 deal. They'll either charge you $100 or $125 a year, or they'll tell you it's already included in your homeowners. It varies. But yes, you do need to contact your homeowner. There is an extreme situation with Aiken Co-op where you have to put them on the insurance declaration page so they are not held liable for any sort of issue related to insurance because of the solar panels. But yes, you're welcome. What else?
Doug, did you have a question?
No, I'm good. Thank you.
Okay. Well, to earlier points, I think it was Doug that said it, mortgage rates are cheap. Interest rates on solar panels, I've got everything from 10-year 0.99 to 25-year 5.49. So everything right now, it's advantageous between that and the tax credits to go solar. So, and we're seeing a lot of action because of it.
We did record this session today, so if any of y'all need the recording, you can let me know and I'll send it to you in case you want to refer back to it. But thank you so much. We've gone a little bit over time, but it's been very helpful. Thank you, James. We appreciate your time and your knowledge. Thank you.
Thanks, James.
Everybody have a wonderful, wonderful day.